That's the hardest part of getting really good copies from a software position is what are the goals? What are the objections? What are the fears? Those are difficult things for even a seasoned marketer to answer. So to get a machine to do that and do it really, really well took a lot of time, and that's how Benson was born. So Benson can now do that, what we call blueprint, in about 15 seconds. And it does it better than a human copywriter can do it.
Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast.
The show where we talk about business, marketing, and petrified penguins.
I'm Ralph Burns, founder of Tier 11.
I'm Kasim, the co-founder of the Driven Mastermind.
And we are very glad that you joined us today.
We'd love for you to come hang out with our new Telegram group, perpetualtraffic.com/Telegram.
And that's our scripted intro, which we're still perfecting, PT listeners. We are so good at that, Kasim. I don't know if that's going to last. I think we just sort of launch right into the show in the future because this is the No BS
At some
podcast.
point, we're going to have like the fancy recorded pre-roll, right?
I think that's what we're getting to. Like somebody professional doing the introductions as opposed to us doing them.
We've only been on for like 8 years. In our defense.
We haven't gotten quite right.
Only 8 years.
We haven't really figured it out.
Yeah. Fortunately, our guest here today has gotten it right. This guy is known for a lot of things. I think probably the stuff that he's done recently, you as a listener probably are not as familiar with, but I know him as the godfather of the VSL. And I can't tell you how many John Benson VSLs I've been a part of in my internet marketing career over the course of the last 15 years, creating them myself, promoting them through our agency, promoting it as an affiliate. But we've got the great John Benson here on today's show of Perpetual Traffic. And we're not really going to be talking about VSLs, maybe a little bit of VSL, but we're actually going to talk about what he's doing right now as not one of these Johnny-come-lately AI copywriting guys, Kasim. That's the thing. He's a guy who's been around for a long, long time and actually went through the tragedy of trying to do this with a less than perfect model and now has figured it out with a far better model. And so we're talking to John Benson here today on Perpetual Traffic. So welcome to the show, John.
Hey guys, good to be here. Thank you. Sorry about the camera in advance. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I change colors when I do this. It's kind of interesting.
That's cool. At least you got the bass guitar in the background.
Yeah, I got the bass guitar. So go forward, become more like Trumpish, and go back, and I become more John-ish. So
that's right.
The luxury of technology.
Yeah, better hair though.
Not a bug. That's something people might pay extra for, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I highly encourage you to see, John's differing colors of his face over on our YouTube channel at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. We're also going to be doing a fair amount of screen sharing here today. So if you're listening to this in the car, walking your dog, at the gym, no matter where you are, I would highly encourage you to get back over to the YouTube channel and watch this. We're also going to be doing a demo of the tool that we're talking about here. We usually don't do this because most AI tools we've just found are ones that we might mention a little bit on the show. This is actually the second time that we've gone through this, John, just in full disclosure. The first time we had a little Riverside recording hiccup or some power outage in Sagamore Beach at my house. But so we've done this before, so we kind of know what's going on. So I can honestly say, I think you're going to be blown away by what we're going to show today, but maybe give us a little bit of a background on your journey, how it all started, how this has sort of evolved, and bring us right up to the present day here today. We have traveled similar paths in a lot of ways, not a lot of the same people, but you were really the guy that I was following when we were studying VSLs and first getting into like affiliate marketing. I remember watching your stuff using VSLs to sell affiliate stuff like 12, 13, 14 years ago. So just a little history through the years of John Benson up to the present day.
There you go. Well, so this all started basically with me asking a question, which is, I wonder if a machine can do all this work for me. So that's essentially how it happened in 2010. We were, doing tons of VSLs, and I was being asked to write VSLs left and right, and there wasn't enough hours in the day. And then I thought, it'd be really cool as if software could do this. And I dabbled in coding and enough to be dangerous, and knew quite a bit about what I wanted out of the software. But I'd seen copywriting software like twice, and it just was terrible. One was an article spinner, and one was, something. It was something cheesy like that. So I set out to say, well, how would that even work? Because a VSL is so complex. It's like there's just so many sections to it. So what I ended up doing is saying, well, I'm going to break out sentences one at a time and see if I could make these sentences work for any piece of copy. So in other words, if I said, I'm here to help you goal while avoiding objections. Okay, well, that would work for anyone in the world, right? So that's how all this started. And that's literally what it used to be. Hundreds of those little things that you would fill in like a Mad Libs kind of thing. And the more I got into dissecting a VSL, the harder it got, because it's like, oh God, I'm telling a story. How on earth are you going to field a story, right? Yeah, there's all these like complexities involved in this, but we ended up pulling it off. And with my help from my good friend Joshua Pellissier, who came over and helped me organize it into like 109 different, it was 109 components. It was like this ridiculously gaudy piece of software, but it did work, and people were able to produce $1 billion a year worth of VSLs out of that software. So that's pretty impressive. Having some top guys, Agora being the biggest, going through the software and the training. So that became like the de facto training for VSLs. And some people just use the training, which is fair game. The software was just going to make it easier. But we were kind of planning for AI a long time ago. And so I was thinking, well, when AI gets further along, because it wasn't even in the nascent stage back then, when it gets further along, it's going to be able to do a lot of this work for somebody, like fill in the blanks for somebody. We just didn't know how it was going to do it. And then I developed CopyPro in 2016, and that was further down the line. It still wasn't AI. It was still kind of, but it broke out more than just, it didn't do VSLs. Well, it did some, but it didn't do anything like Accelerator did. It did everything else, like emails and ads and all sorts of stuff. So we figured out how to do it for emails, which was very difficult because emails change all the time. Emails are harder than VSLs. And so, yeah, we were way ahead of the curve here. And then we were talking to AI companies all about from 2019, 2020 on, trying to find somebody who could take this on. And in 2019, people were saying to us that basically what you're asking out of AI is one of the hardest tasks for AI to do. And I'm like, I just couldn't grasp that at the time. Like we can, land a rover on Mars, yet you can't fill in a sentence. It just, And so when these engineers broke out why that is, I was like, okay, I can kind of understand it, and they kept saying, look, there's these large language learning models coming out, that the LLMs that will probably do what you want it to do, maybe, sort of, kind of. And so we were kind of waiting for that to happen. And then GPT 3.5 came out, and it sucked. We tried to get, with Jasper AI, tried to get it to understand a VSL, and it could understand about 5 minutes of it. So we couldn't even get it beyond a couple of minutes before I was satisfied. And it sounded very robotic and all that stuff. And all this changed while we were working on it to GPT-4. And when GPT-4 came out, it was such a monumental leap. We knew that we could plug in and get, as you'll see in a moment, get a lot of the guts of what manually used to have to be done. But then we went a step further. We decided, well, we got into these instruct models and training it and saying, wait, why don't we just take the 10,000 or so manual blueprints that we've done, who knows how many, there weren't 10,000, but it was a lot, and say, look, we can download this knowledge, so to say, into this AI. I'm speaking in gross metaphors here at this point, but that's sort of kind of what we're trying to do. And what if we could do this to where it was like a living, breathing thing? What if it could be something that somebody could just copy and paste something out of a Word document, and boom, out would come all the foundation of their copy, which is the hardest thing to do. That's the hardest part of getting really good copies from a software position, is what are the goals? What are the objections? What are the fears? What's the number one goal? What's the number one complaint? What those are difficult things for even a seasoned marketer to answer. But we have like 100 and some odd versions of those kind of questions that we ask, and it's extremely detailed. So to get a machine to do that and do it really, really well took a lot of time. And we built it originally for VSLs. We built it for my now VSL, it changed its name. And then we quickly realized this is beyond VSLs. This is something that could be used for any copy at all. And that's how Benson was born. So Benson can now do that, what we call blueprint, in about 15 seconds. And it does it better than a human copywriter can do it, for sure. Much faster than a human copywriter can do it. And that's the foundation for everything. From there, you have control over AI, where if you just go to chat and start, asking questions like, create me an email sequence, it's going to start sounding like a radio announcer. It doesn't really understand the nuances of copy. But with this foundation and with the way that we do the back end of things, which is very, very different. In fact, it's trademarked. The copy sounds really human, and it sounds like an A-lister wrote it, which is pretty cool. So that's where we're at today, and that's kind of where our whole focus is going to be, on honing the best copywriting tool in the world. So we're totally happy to be a big fish in a very, very small pond. Just the open AIs of the world, they're trying to crack AGI, they're trying to do a whole bunch of things, robotics. We're just trying to make copy that sells. So
I remember way back, this is going to date me, but it's okay. I date myself quite a bit on this podcast. This is 10 plus, it's probably about 10 years ago. I took one of your VSLs and I had my VA transcribe it. And I forget which affiliate product I was selling. And I basically said, create the script for this VSL and then add in our products, like literally, or it was a template that I got online.
Right.
I remember having my VA do it. And then I then did the voiceover, obviously in the black and white style. And if you're not familiar with what that is, we'll leave links in the show notes, the old school sort of John Benson style. Mm-hmm. And then we used that. Literally, I altered it, I edited it, I did it all. I mean, even after she transcribed it, and then I edited it, this was multiple hours. And I'm basically just copying your stuff.
Yeah.
But who wasn't doing that back then? Because the VSLs were so effective. It's the highest form of flattery, I suppose, to a certain degree. But the point is that there was something about, and prior to us getting on today, there is a methodology to how and why it works from a psychological perspective. And all I was really doing was, I didn't realize what I was doing, but it worked. It was effective. And I've still used that many times, on my own products and so forth. I'm sure I'm speaking to a lot of Perpetual Traffic listeners who have done the same sort of thing. This new tool does that, obviously, in a fraction of the time. But can you talk to the psychology of why it works so well? Why did this methodology that you really invented and then became so widespread in digital marketing and internet marketing in general, why did it work so well? And it's probably the same things that work in the tool today, but what was it that you discovered? Was it trial and error? How did you sort of come up with it? Give us a little bit of that backstory.
Well, I came up with it when I was complaining about the first sales letter I had to write, which was for my second book. My first book was a bestseller, and Tom Venuto, who was very big in the fitness space at the time, wrote the sales page for it. We were partners. And then he and I split ways totally amicably. He was like, hey, now you're on your own. You got a list of 35,000 people from one launch. This was back in 2004. So you can just, it was crazy, man. We hit 1,007 on Alexa. Alexa ranks the websites that are the most popular in order. And so we were the 1,007th most popular website in the world on those days, which is if you just think about that right now, that's just insane to think about an offer page being that big, right? But it was. And so when my second book was coming out, I thought, okay, I've got a much better book, I thought I did. It was very much, wasn't so geared toward fitness. It was more geared toward nutrition, which I knew it was much bigger market. And it was called the Every Other Day Diet. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? It was I had the brand, I had the name, I had the book, and so I thought, okay, well, all I got to do is write the sales page. Now, I've written 2 books at this point. Sales page, I just got to, how hard can that be, right? And so, it totally didn't work at all. It was I got 0.5% conversions, and this was to an internal list. So I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. And, I didn't want to become a copywriter. I never read a book on it. I just looked at what Tom wrote and tried to emulate it. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing something completely wrong. And we kept trying to tweak it, and it would go up to like 1.5%, but it was right around this really horrible rate. And my buddy Mike Geary at the time, he's still a massive traffic guy. And Mike said, dude, you ever considered doing a video for it? I'm like, I don't want to go on video, man. It's like, it's
Right.
I'm a bodybuilder. I don't look. At the time, I think because people are going to be afraid. I put my picture on the cover of the first book, and Tom said it's a mistake. I'm like, well, dude, I'm 180 pounds. How could I just didn't have any idea what the mindset was, and so you wouldn't believe how many people said, "Oh my God, I don't ever want to look like that." It's like, it's like okay, they meet you, they go, "Oh my God, you're so small." It's so weird, the illusion of it all. But so I decided to put a very attractive woman on the cover, balancing food. It's kind of like a burger in this hand and an apple in this hand. It's kind of cute, right? So I just get really frustrated with Mike going, I'm like, I can't do this video. He goes, well, you know what you could do is a PowerPoint video. I go, no way, dude, like a PowerPoint video. He goes, I saw some dude doing a PowerPoint video, and he showed it to me, and it was, I forget what the niche was at this point, but and he was doing like literally like an ugly PowerPoint with the greens background, just literally out of PowerPoint. And I was thinking,
one of those like ugly ass templates.
Yeah. And I thought, and he was just kind of talking and all this stuff. I thought, you know what? He's got a really good idea, just the totally wrong way of approaching it. And this is where you asked what goes into it. I mean, I studied NLP in college just because I wanted to. My original major was going to be virology. I ended up changing it to communications because I wanted to learn how to, communicate. That's just the best way I could. And so in that process, I ended up studying all sorts of communication techniques and ended up being into kind of persuasion. So, so I decided I would use some of that stuff and stuff we had done in the ad agency I started out of college, where we knew that red and black were the colors that people responded to the most in ads. And I thought, well, what if we did it totally differently than what he's doing? What if we just put one sentence on a slide at a time? Mm-hmm. And so there was NLP involved. So that's very important. There was a hypnotic pace involved because you'd see the slide, see the slide, see the slide. And it's very much like you see this stuff if you go to a magic show, you'll see magicians do this kind of stuff all the time. They're trying to get your mind to look in a certain direction, so to say. And then I thought, well, you're going to hear it and read it at the same time, which I knew retention rates would go way up. That's just basic psychology. But if you really can't avoid watching the whole thing or turning it off. That's your choice. We're on a sales page. We were looking at the heat map of my sales page, and it was like people would read the headline, the subheadline, they'd scroll down in the middle of the page, and they'd just look at a picture, and they'd scroll down to the offer. I'm like, man, they're not being sold. The copy could be great, but they're not reading it. It has to be, well, actually, if it was great, they probably would have read it, but it'd have to be great for them to read it. Okay, I'll put it that way. Sure. So what if we took, I'm not a copywriter at the time, took okay copy and broke it out into chunks. And for whatever reason, my mind just went into that zone where the very first one I did was, I knew I wanted to start with a pattern interrupt, like use NLP. So I said, hey, this is John, and this is my magic jacket. My jacket helped me lose 78 pounds of fat and all this. And that became the non sequitur pattern interrupt that every single person used from, for the next 6 or still do, but still for 6 or 7 years, it was the only thing that people were doing. So it was kind of crazy. So I developed it I did 2 or 3 different iterations. The first one had 6 times the amount of sales. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to do a longer one. And it was like 18 minutes long. No one's going to watch this. The same thing people were saying. But basically the biggest part of the psychology was, how do you get someone to read every single word of a sales page? Mm. So if you've got 7% of your sales page being read and you're getting 1% conversion, if you doubled that, would you get 2? And if you tripled that, would you get onward down the line, right? And so I thought, well, maybe let's find out. Interns find out that is the case. So, and then they just got longer and longer, and I got more into the story element of it. We started seeing the story side of things really, really peak, and that became the VSL. So all that's how I got into it, and that's why that's some of the reasons why a VSL works. That's for sure. It's definitely not what even today people are some people are just not used to seeing it. They're used to seeing something written. So when they see something it's just appearing like this and a guy talking to you, and I did voiceover work, so I had the voice to do it, and I just combined it with acting, which I did in college. So I kind of put all that together into this thing that happened and called VSLs. So when we got to Benson, fast forward to today, originally it was going to be called VSL Pro because it all did was VSLs. And then we thought, well, wait, that's stupid because you're going to need emails for that VSL. You're going to need an ad to drive this VSL. Wait, we might as well just program the whole damn thing, And when I say program, it's not programmed, it's learned. But that's what we did. And that's what Benson became. And it just became this living, breathing entity that didn't do just VSLs and certainly doesn't sound just like me. I mean, we've trained it on the top converting offers in the whole world. So that's what makes it very unique, is that it's only trained on the top converting offers. So unlike ChatGPT, which is trained on the entire internet,
Right.
which is, again, the worst way to learn copywriting is to read the internet. That would not be my first recommendation. So we only focus on things that we know work. And that's the key. And we use AI where we know AI is really, really good. AI is really good at filling in gaps. It's really good at, once you constrain it, it's just getting it to be constrained is a bitch. It's not easy. So that's what we did. And that's how we can produce, VSLs. Other guys that get VSLs out of Benson with hardly any edits that are just crushing it. And so, but again, it's not a VSL tool, it's a copy tool. It's so, in fact, we just polled our audience to find out what they're using the most. And it's a VSL's tied with the emails. So
let's take a look at it. I mean, I think it'd be cool to kind of go through it. And if you're not familiar with what John's done in the past, sort of the style and how it all works, like this might be a surprise to you. You probably even have seen these. I mean, I still see these at work, the same sort of style, but now you've got a tool that is, I mean, it's from a large language model, but it's from a procured large language model that's the key ingredient to it all. It's not just pulling everything from the internet. Otherwise, you're just going to have garbage in, garbage out. You're going to get some good stuff, but you're using, as the base for the model itself, what's worked in the past and scripts that you've used, different industries, I have to assume, in essence, sort of the same psychological formula that goes all the way through it from beginning to end. And that's why it works.
Yeah, well, like, if I can just, before I show it to you, I'll give you one example. I've got a good friend of mine that owns a $100 million golf agency, one of the most successful golf agency from a marketer point of view. And he's the number one copywriter in the world for that area. And he's just a phenomenal writer. And he's like, dude, I'm just going to give you my top 4 VSLs. And can you train Benson on it? Because we want to use it to replicate what we've already done, but use it for different offers. And so I said, just so you know, it's not a template that it follows. It's learning the structure as it goes along and says, okay, well, I'm going to figure out what, in this sentence, what is the most probable primary goal, secondary goal, objections, niche, avatar, all these fields that we've broken out, right? And then I'm going to not just replace it with your data, I'm actually going to rewrite it with your data so it makes sense, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. And so we get phenomenal results using, we trained, okay, so every element, every VSL we've trained it with is a separate element, okay? Think of it that way. We can train an element just that on one topic, and that topic sounds insanely good when you apply it to software. Like it's like crazy. So the more that we trained on, we realized, well, wait, like we trained it on a spirituality offer, and it just crushed it for a weight loss offer, but it didn't have any of the woo language in it. So it still had to interpret what they were saying and then make that work. So that's what the AI is doing, just to show you what's going on in the background. But it does, obviously, VSLs are actually a very, very small part of Benson, relatively speaking. I think we got like 12 frameworks in there, which is a lot. That's more than anyone will ever need. But yeah, I'll show this to you. And let me do this by doing a demonstration if I can. Sure. Do you have an existing sales page right now for any offer? You or Kasim, you could just name the offer. I haven't talked to you guys before this, so right.
I've got my mastermind that has a pretty badass sales page.
Do it.
Okay. So why don't you do me a favor and drop me the link in the chat. And what we'll do is we'll show you what makes. Now, by the way, if you didn't have a sales page, what you would do, and you say that, let's say that you're into gardening. Well, you would go to some competitors' websites that you like, and you would just grab data from there. And don't worry, it's not going to sound like their website. It's just grabbing enough data to where it can say, let me build that blueprint for you. Remember, this is the secret sauce. This is the foundation to all copy. You've got to have that blueprint solid. And that's something that you can manually edit too, so that you can get your own voice into this thing. Otherwise, it's going to sound like everybody else. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I'll show you this here real quick. Let me pop into the chat, grab that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this. And I'm just going to copy it in chunks. And then I'm going to come over to Benson. And I'm going to create, now this, normally you would see this right here. So I'm going to create a new blueprint. What's the name of the mastermind?
Driven mastermind.
Okay, so I'm just going to title the blueprint, just going to copy and paste over here. I'm not going to worry about formatting. I'm just going to get the gist of it. So I only need about 300 words. So in fact, right now we limit people to 300 words. We only want to tell Benson enough to get the idea across. Now, let me say this. If you had a copywriter, Perry Belcher is one of the best copywriters on the planet. If you had Perry write your letter for you, you're doing great. You probably don't need AI. Here's where you would need AI for the rest of it. Okay,
Yeah,
for everything else that you're doing.
Else.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to come back in here and just take out. I'll leave Perry Belcher in here. I'll just take that out. We'll just put that in manually because I'm just going to get down to 300 words.
It's going to be our gift to Perry, Kasim, me, and you.
I wonder if he'll see it as a gift.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess we'll see what the end result is.
Okay, so this is live without a net here, but this is Benson going, okay, I'm going to dissect this and figure out, what on earth would the goals be? Look at this so fast. Okay, so we're going to come down here we're not going to worry about this. This is all about Perry. So we'll come back in here and do this. So the niche is entrepreneurship, mastermind groups, successful entrepreneurs, high achievers, wealth accumulators. Primary goal, grow your business by 500%. So I was able to deduce that immediately. Okay. Accumulate wealth and power, surround yourselves with like-minded individuals. Secondary goals, in other words, have a strong network of diverse and influential peers. So what Benson's doing is saying, wait, if this is your number one goal, then what other goals would be along with it? So what are the promises? Figured out the promises right off the bat. 500% just 1 year, mastermind, quick send your highest level, avoid wasting time, energy in a group that hinders your growth. So pick that up somewhere. Again, I don't know the page at all. So only 1% of the world's population are millionaires. What are the objections? Investing in a high-press mastermind, bad habits, consequences, ultimate fear. What are false solutions? So it just wrote this in 15 seconds. So, and it wrote this from less than 300 words on your deal, less than 300 words. So,
and I assume this is just the framework for what is going to come, but it is pulling it out just with 334 words or whatever it happens to be in the top of the page. Got it.
Right. And the couple things we don't pull that we actually do pull, but we stop pulling it because we just want to make it super easy to fill in is what's the offer name and what's the person's name? Because oftentimes there are 9 names on a piece of copy. So the AI has no way of knowing which one is which. The offer name we want to get, that's too important to get right. But as you can tell, Driven, it got it. You can read the offer details right here. Mm-hmm. So this is what Benson wrote.
Oh, Benson wrote this. Okay.
All right. If you're listening, just a reminder here, just make sure that you head over to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube to see the actual screen share here, which this is pretty amazing. It's been able to pull this out.
It's nuts what it's pulling out. That blows me away.
The positive hook.
Curiosity, the price that Benson captured is not on the page. How did it do that?
Oh, it makes up things. All AI hallucinates, so it'll just make up something until you put it in. But it's going to ask you what the offer price is. For example,
okay.
Yeah, I'll show you one.
It's accurate though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we charge 30, and it's at 25, so it's damn close.
Well, it's estimating. So, and by the way, if you charge 30, it gets your offer discount's 24,500. It's a 98% discount. So it's just, by the way, here's what's really funny. People think that AI is really, really smart at maths. It sucks at maths. Anyone in the AI world will tell you that AI is terrible at maths, and that's what GPT-5 is solved. And once we solve the math problem, So even some basic math is very different. Now it can do, like, we have it do addition, subtraction, percentages all the time. But if it has to wing it and guess it, because we did this in 15 seconds, it's going to just so completely go off the rails with math. So by the way, check all your facts. That's all true for every AI you got. But okay, so now you got a blueprint that I would go in if I were you, just go through here, say, I like this one, don't like this. If you don't like it, just click it and just edit it. So it's super easy. So you can get your own voice in here if you want. If you want to say specific things, you can say specific things. If you want to add into, eventually you're going to add your entire bio. So we don't have that in there right now because we didn't tell it who it was. But let's go into Project Creator and tell you, this is what you can do with what you just saw. Okay. So I can come in here and create endless amounts of ads. Now, I'm just going to show you this because it's just really cool. I select the blueprint. Now, in case you're wondering, what's really cool about the ad generator in Benson is, again, we don't let ChatGPT, well, actually, we use multiple LLMs in case you're curious, but we don't let Anthropic, Chat, Grok, whatever, we don't let it write on its own unless we've tested that specific framework and we know for sure it can. So you've got a team of copywriters looking at this going, okay, that's good. You can do that. On the other hand, no, we don't want you to touch this. Just follow this system, okay? So we're breaking everything out specifically. In this particular case, we trained this with hundreds of ads, knowing that every single one of the ads, except for a few, did over $100,000 in profit. So we know that because we know where they came from. So this is pretty cool. There's no other AI on the planet that has even just this very first thing that you're going to see here. So let's look at just what an ad generator will do. So obviously we've got all these different types of ads. Okay. So it's asking you now and this is how Benson prompts you for information. Here's your magic ad generator. We'll just use the magic one. We've got all these different frameworks you can use. Click, go, click, go, click, go. But we're just going to let it write on its own and see how it does. Okay. So nothing up my sleeve. So it's asking for, do you have something like a lead hook, like a 10-second fix or a breakthrough approach? Do you have anything that you choose like that? I think you had something on your sales page that was something similar to that. You, what was it again? I mean, I'm going to pop back over here. Misfits, something of misfits. So you want to say anything like that? Or if you don't know, you can leave this blank and Benson will figure it out for you.
I'd be interested in seeing Benson figure it out for me, because this is, to be frank, John, like my weakest suit. So even coming up with a prompt is, I'd sit there for a half hour staring at it. What this can do is going to blow me away, I imagine.
Now, notice the NLP turns, but here's the deal. See, so we've already coded this to think in terms of masterminds. So this is a straightforward ad that you would read like on YouTube, but here we go. There we go. Written for you, super quick, and from a copy and paste from your website.
So what we're looking at is three different headlines, and then we're looking at some specific ad copy.
Yeah, long
form ad copy, story format. Modeling. I wouldn't say exactly the sales page, but very similar tone here, and it took us all of.
Oh, but yeah, seconds. But this is just phase one. See, right. What AI does well. We've got something. It's got we've got some. I can see the frameworks we're using. We got some NLP. We got some open loops. We got all this kind of stuff in here. But now we want to come down here and refine it. So, by the way, Benson's entirely promptless, which means you don't ever have to ask it anything. You just come in here and go, look, I want this to sound more conversational, how real people talk. I want to make it more dynamic than it is. We call it juicify. I want to kill the poet in case it's too poetic. Make it longer, make it shorter, make it warmer, nuke the fancy words, put it on steroids. Okay. So if you want something on steroids, I'm kind of curious what on steroids would look like. We got two versions of it. And now you can read it side by side.
Oh, the side by side thing is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about working harder. It's about who's in your corner. Networking isn't an underrated business tactic. It's a lifeline. Here's the truth. Transforming your business into a multi-million-dollar powerhouse takes more than relentless graft. It's about finding a network of driven, successful players who will fuel your success. So much more like hard hitting, much more targeted, right? but we can just keep doing this. So I'm going to just do this for fun. And by the way, I would correct all the paragraphs here later. Then come in here and say, now take that same exact thing that I'm doing in here and screw a crows down here. And I want to simplify everything. Just simplify it. You can simplify everything with a click. You can rephrase everything with a click. You can make it warmer, like I said. Kill the hype. Whatever your type of copy, whatever you like, is what you want to do here. But you can just keep ramping it up if you want to run different filters on it or different refiners. So now we're starting with something. We're starting with something rather than just starting from nothing. And that's the critical thing here. So now you can just keep refining. Then you can obviously refine it with your own copy as you see fit. And there we go. So now you see basically how this works, right? But let's say I just want to start a completely different ad. I just click this. And whoops. Gotta refresh my page. Sorry about that.
So that's taking the original version, and now you're creating another ad with it.
Okay, right. So from lone wolf to pack leader might be the headline. Ever feel like you're stuck in mediocrity? This is completely different. Like you're not living up. You're not alone. In fact, this ultimately for 99% of entrepreneurs falling short, they're remaining average forever. I mean, so this does not sound like copy that comes out of ChatGPT. No. What if there was a way to escape it? That's where the driven mastermind comes in. So this is straightforward, direct response kind of ads. Okay, obviously, and we have all sorts of different ad formats. So you can do blind ads, meaning that you don't want to give away what the hook is. You can do quiz ads. You can the most important thing. All these different frameworks that we can do. So let's look at this just for grants. I'm just going to click on here, and I'll say like let's let Benson write it. I didn't copy and paste it in the okay. Stops you from wasting time, money, and effective in only 1 year. If you want to experience exponential growth, the most important thing to know is that all masterminds are created equal. It's really important, so let it sink in. So notice this is extremely direct response. Not all masterminds are created. It actually repeated itself. There's a reason for lack of growth and adequate networking. Business technician is that simple. It doesn't matter if you're a newbie or if you've been in the game 10, 20, even 30 years. The first thing you need to do is start ramping up your business growth. So as you can see here, completely different structure, right? We're going on frameworks that we know have done over $100,000 in profit. So this is what's so very, very cool about this. And it's just learning from these frameworks and then looking at your blueprint and saying, okay, how do I meld these together and then use the AI that we've trained to write something brand new? And if I don't like this, I just do this. This is how difficult it is now to write ad copy. So
it's good.
Yeah,
we're in the video long. What is that one that you just did? That's
I don't know. I was just
There's a bunch of different formats here, so you can basically, if you want to do a video ad, you can type on any one of these, and it's just writing it non-GPT style.
Yeah, well, I mean, so we're going to get to the VSL here in just a second. So there are four main reasons that driven masterminds revolutionizing entrepreneurship. First, the results you receive are remarkable. So, okay, let's see what the other reasons are. Oh, this is long. Okay. Third reason is the results manifest quickly. Fourth is driven masterminds unlike anything else because its certainty of success is so high. Its success rate surpasses anything else. So simply join our group. So different things will work for different people. So if you save this and you go, I like this, but hey, let's do this. This is my favorite one. Let's kill the poet. Let's make this even simpler.
Kill the poet.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing a refined version just to the right of this. That's then rewriting the entire thing, making it less poetic, less flowery.
Yeah, less flowery. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we don't want anything. Well, that's not very flowery at all. But we're just taking out any of the fancy words. So number one, outcomes are stellar. I mean, your business won't. It even says, I mean, your business. So this is a script that you'd be reading. I mean, your business won't just grow. It's going to skyrocket. Say goodbye to feeling stuck and clueless. I mean, I just don't think you see copy like that out of chat. The word clueless, for example, that's just not something you would normally see ChatGPT produce. Now, I'm spotting these words because I know where they're coming from. They're coming from a whole library of things that we know are these, what we call juicy words. We know that are just things that make you kind of stop in your tracks. Well, this is what it's been trained on. So that's why it's able to do all this. And we're just like playing around here. So let's see what else it can do. Now, obviously, this is you're a mastermind. So what do you think?
Just out of curiosity, John, how many layers of iteration before it starts to, or maybe it doesn't, but you just said kill the poet, which I really love too.
Mhm.
And then if I were to accept that change and then kill the poet again and accept that change and kill the poet again,
Yep.
I put myself in kind of like at a certain point, is it just grunts and, guttural noises,
No.
or will it sort of flatten out?
It'll flatten out. It'll flatten out.
You know what I like about that is ChatGPT doesn't. Like, you can get yourself into a prompt loop with almost any AI tool I've ever seen.
Yeah. You can. I'm sure there's a way to do it in here. We've never done it, but since it's promptless, you're not doing any of the prompts. So those look like they're just prompts. They're not just prompts. We're sending. There's a whole bunch of data in the background, and it's kind of complicated. But so let's do this, and then we'll do a VSL. We'll do the VSL lead. How's that? And I'll show you how fast we can run a VSL lead. Okay, so it's asking for now. Here's the offer price. What is the offer price?
30,000.
Okay. Okay. Let Benson run with this and leave it blank. I'm going to let it run blank now. Do you have testimonials? Let's just say Bob. And wow, this was awesome. If you wanted two with Benson, all you do is hit return. And you'd enter right there like that. So that's all it's asking for, a whole advertorial. Let's see how well it does.
Okay, so we've got a headline, and then there's the body, and then it's a story based upon that sort of creates here, just for if you're not watching on YouTube.
Advertorials are, in case people don't know what an advertorial is, it's something you can send traffic to that isn't. Advertorials cannot be too exaggerated. Advertorials have to feel like an ad. So it has to feel like it's an article, and that's why they call it an advertorial. It's kind of like an editorial that reads, that's actually an ad. So it's writing this whole thing. As you can see, it's just still writing. It's still writing. So it's trained on these models, and this is what allows us to do this. So yeah. So unfortunately, you don't have the testimonials are wrong. Sometimes, by the way, it does. You have to, if we call for 3 testimonials, you only have 1, it's just going to start hallucinating stuff. But I was in a hurry. So there you go. So kind of cool.
You'd be adding in your actual testimonials. Here,
Exactly. Right. So, and you can come in here and say, okay, I like this, but I need more urgency. I won't do the whole thing.
How many of those, what do you call those modifiers?
Refiners.
How many of those refiners are there?
Oh gosh, there's tons. There's 39. We keep adding them all the time, so it's kind of cool.
But those that are listening, there's things like create more trust, or I think one was write at a 5th grade level or something like that. Like, it's pretty diverse.
Yeah. So like, let's take this right here. A driven entrepreneur, the situation can be disheartening. You understand the impact of a supportive community. Okay, it's a little bit fancy. So let's see how real people talk. So if you're if you're in a feminine market, if you're in a soft market, if you're not wanting super hard direct response, I just turned direct response into something very soft, very, very soft. If I don't like it, I can always retry it. So you get the idea. It's tough to go it alone as an entrepreneur. You get how you have to. So you can just replace little things at a time. You can just find it and go, I'm going to run this refiner here, this refiner here. So their copy ends up exactly the way you want it. Of course, you can obviously enter your own stuff here. But if I want a totally different style, I just click here and hit continue, and you'll see completely different style.
You can create your own prompt.
Yeah.
Too.
So now now this is personally, I love this framework the best.
Style. Okay.
And so there people, so we're training them on 2 of the best advertorial styles that we know of, and a lot of different versions of those in each one of those styles or the train. But so it took the idea from this and created, I just closed my laptop for the day as the opening sentence. Stress of running an average earned business taking a toll on me. I've been working about 10 hours dealing with mediocre employees and making little progress in my business. So again, does this sound like anything that you've ever seen out of AI? And so, you just scroll down here and it's telling a story, And then you correct the story as it goes on. So for 5 years, my stagnant business made me life a living hell. So you might say, okay, well, what's the truth here? Was it 7 years? Was it 2 years? You correct this kind of thing. But now you have a framework in which to think. So that's what Benson can do for you. Now, I'm going to do one more thing real quick. Two more things. If it's okay, I'll show you 2 quick things real quick here, because we did talk about VSL so much and people are going to ask.
Sure.
There's so many in here. So let's just come here, scroll down. VSL.
So we've created ads so far. We've done an advertorial. Now we're going into the VSL.
Yeah.
Like I said, heading over to the YouTube channel here so you can see it live, but pretty simple. Like we're doing this quick. But
so you're kind of in a contrarian, like, this is different than everything else. So let's use the contrarian and see how we do. Okay. So what's the first name, last name of do you want to go in?
Of the personality in your marketing campaign?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's Perry?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Head goon. Okay. This is all I had to do to write a lead of a VSL. So just so now you guys know how difficult this is.
Kind of sounds like I'm actually.
Look, it's very contrarian. Becoming successful is easy. There's only one thing you must do. The thing, you know what it is? Maybe you think you're inheriting a successful business or setting up an empire like Elon Musk or having an Ivy League degree. Maybe you think it's all about networking. Okay, you won't find it on LinkedIn. It's never been in any MBA course, and it's no self-help book has this. The one thing is right within your reach. As you can tell, this is a A-level VSL lead.
Yeah.
Written this fast.
And
I can change
problem, solution, proof, offer, price, guarantee, close.
Yeah.
Like that's the classic Benson formula, right?
Well, this is one of them. So I'm kind of curious what would write for problem. So I can skip right to the problem. Your brain nurtures too many types of impulses. Now I have no idea. Of course, we have nothing up our sleeves here. Okay. So you tell me. It's literally taking what you gave it in those less than 300 words and figuring out that your brain has 2 types of impulses. Okay, I have no idea where it's
going. The entire book Driven is about. Brackman talks about the 2 different minds, effectively, the hunter and the farmer, and how only 10% of people are hunters. So it aligns pretty perfectly with it. Dude, this is really amazing. Like, if you don't mind, throw a grenade at you. What happens? Let's say Benson wins. Everybody's like, as impressed as me and Ralph are, the whole world starts to use it. What stops everybody's shit from sounding exactly alike?
This won't sound like anybody else's. This isn't a template.
Because I realize you're starting with my blueprint, but you've mentioned a couple of times that we've used, like consistently used the same 6-figure winning not templates, but
frameworks.
They're being trained on the same framework. So are we dealing with a pool that can be exhausted, or will it just continue to iterate, sharpen the saw?
I mean, I'll put it this way. Like, let me show you a clone, which is the closest thing to what you're seeing. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, because the very first time I showed this to my friend Donnie, who wrote some of the VSLs we trained this on, I cloned his VSL for Benson and sent it to him. And he was like, he didn't originally see that it was even him that wrote it. And he was like, I said, this is from your VSL. And so it was because, again, it has to take the idea and then restructure the idea in a way that makes sense. So there might be some phrases here and there, and we want that to be the same. We want certain keywords to be the same, but it can't follow a direct script. It has to learn. So all the ads that you saw it right to begin with, those ads have never existed before. That's just what it's trained on. So in other words, like I can drill down to the specific frameworks, or I can just go to the generator, and the generator just writes on its own. It's when will it tire out? Forever. I mean, it'll just keep going, because it's just writing from, it's just writing, just like you would be, this exactly as you would be writing. So the funny thing is, as a copywriter, we all follow set patterns and formulas and things like that. There's not that many of them out there. The few that are out there created all the diversity that you see in the VSL and sales letter world. I mean, this this is pretty specific to exactly what you're talking about. And I understand it didn't grab hardly any of that from your page.
Right.
It was able to deduce it just from a few sentences. So you could actually refine this inside your blueprint and get it to be even more specific. But I'll show you one more thing that's cool. Give me like a quick lead that you think is really good, or on another sales page, different one.
A lead as far as
any sales letters you like, you could just pick one. Or I could take the lead for Perry if you want me to. Go to that. Well, grab that URL here. Let's do that for grins. This is pretty cool. All right. Get back over to Chrome here. I will grab this. I have no idea what this is going to do. I'm going to copy just this. Let's say I love this misfit millionaires, you're blah, blah, blah. So what would Benson do with that if I said, I want it to run that for me? So I'm going to come over here to my home and I'm going to click cloner. And I'm going to select Benson. Now Benson has nothing to do with this, right? No, let's do something even further away from it. Let's take a supplement, Ageless Glow.
So you've copied and pasted another section of the Driven Mastermind sales page, brought it over to Benson, and then put it into the tool to sell a different type of product in a different type of industry.
Completely different
the tone of the original sales.
Yeah,
that's
sales letter.
Cool.
And it's 43% completely unique. And if I can, and as many times as I hit try again, it's going to sound totally different.
For a fictitious product, Ageless Glow, right.
And John, what's the percentage uniqueness mean? How is that calculated?
It's looking at how many words are exactly the same as the original. So we wanted that. Okay. We're targeting at a uniqueness. We want to get that uniqueness factor at least in the 40s. Normally, it's in the 50s to 60s, but your 40s is good. 20s would be like, it would sound just like it. So if you're cloning something that is exactly the same as what you're using, but what we're doing here is we're trying to get something. We're trying to get something that I can use. Let's say I'm a newbie. I've got a skincare product here, and this is direct response, and that's fine. This is just a demo. I can save this. Glow lead, and I'll create a project. Okay. I'm going to stick that in there, and then I'm going to do the same exact thing, only this time that really bombastic, super hard lead, right? I'm going to come in here and say, make me feel it, or make it warmer, because this is going to a female audience. My heart's desire is to craft skincare solutions that truly deliver. Let's be honest here. Most of us can purchase top dollar. So it's doing this, but it's not doing it in a cheesy way. It's doing it in a copywriting way. It's warmer, but it's still using NLP. Let's be honest. You probably already know. Can you see all this in here, guys? I know what this is as a copywriter. I'm not suggesting that everyone else is. Now, you would never see this and go, oh, that came from my sales letter.
Right.
So you're asking how many? Well, it's endless, because every time you click that button, this is basically what's going on. So and that's a direct copy.
Not everything is going to sound like everything else.
Because
so many variations. There's so many iterations.
Yeah, and again, that's also like again, if I go over to the ads right now, if I go over to Project Creator, and do this Ageless Glow ad generator, because you saw this. I'll just make up a name here. And this is the last thing we can do here. I think you remember, this is let's call it a 5-second skincare fix. And by the way, it would come up with that on its own. I just wanted to fill it in. So this is nothing like what it wrote for you. The root issue may surprise you. It's not your genetics or even your age or other skin products you're using. So This is utterly different than what you came up with. If you don't just look back at the video, so it's not pulling from again, it's learning, it's learned from all these different things that we've taught it. It just so happened we taught it with hundreds of ads, and so it's learned. It just learned how to do it really well. So that's what Benson does. It
I think
learns.
this is one of the best uses of AI I've ever seen, John. Can we see everything that there's a menu that we're pulling from? What's the menu?
Yeah. So when you say, I mean, you mean the frameworks?
Yeah. So these are all the frameworks. And I imagine, are you adding to them, or are you staying pretty niched down?
We're still in MVP mode. We're not even in beta yet, if you can believe that or not. But even in MVP mode, we've gone from, we launched with 12. Now we got 6 pages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Right.
So, okay, you've got ad generator,
ad generator to email cold sequences.
Oh, I got to show you this for Jade. Let me. I'm sorry. Just because I want you to. I'm sorry to take up so much time with this, but misspelled driven. That's why I'm not finding it. Okay, driven. Check this out. Yeah, hooks. The reason why is because we've got all the stuff in here. This is actually being teleported over into here. It's just going to be a week. So for right now, it's right here. So I can come in here and say, Benson, create a ton of different hooks for that offer.
Oh, that's cool.
That's very cool.
Golden parachute acceleration.
Dynapreneurship, power. So it's creating actually things that we might. I click regenerate. So we're having created around a couple of different frameworks. Growth
Wealth engineering.
Wealth engineering. So and some of them are good. Some of them will just keep going, and you can just wealth warp. Elite elevation, driven sinking. So I mean, it'll just keep going until you find something that you like, or you can just go over to the normal hooks, and it does just. Yeah. So this is what it can do over and over and over again. Power accumulation map. That's pretty cool. Something about a growth matrix. That was kind of cool. So
never in a million years would you be able to come up with this many hooks.
Dude, I'm just thinking about how exhausting it is to come up with 10 each in a day. Yeah. You get you and your 2 partners. You're like, all right, everybody has to, because that's what we do. It's like everybody has to come up with their 10, and then you have till the end of the day. And then we just sit there and obsess over them. But,
and you do prompt after prompt after prompt in ChatGPT or
exactly
or whatever it happens to be, and it's like it still doesn't sound that great.
And then you need a negative hook too.
To generate over time, like the first iteration is better. Yeah, it kind of gets worse. This seems to be getting better.
Dude, check this out. Isolation paralysis is the negative hook. So you don't have to know what these things are, but a positive hook is unique mechanism. Negative hook is what's the thing that's causing the problem. Okay. But isolation paralysis is kind of interesting. And so that opens up a whole thing. So success, solitude, impact, isolation. So I'll just keep doing this until I find something I like. And so essentially we've trained it on hundreds and hundreds of hooks. And so that's how it's coming up with this kind of stuff. So, and by the way, the newer models that we're training are even, God, they're so good. I can't wait to roll these out in the next couple of weeks. So, because we tap into different LLMs, and different LLMs are better at hooks than the one we're using right now. So, yeah. But anyway, you get the idea. I think that we've proven the point, and hopefully didn't bore too many people with.
I can't think of a cooler, more effective copywriting headline VSL advertorial tool that I've ever seen. And it's like you could do something akin to this on ChatGPT, but you would spend so much time filtering through the crap, training it and training it and training it and training it, and you've already pre-trained it. And I think, with successful products and successful VSL sales pages, email ads from successful products in the past, it's already there.
ChatGPT is Radio Shack. ChatGPT is, you can go to Radio Shack and build whatever you want. This is an Xbox. Right. It's like, hey, do you want to come play the game?
Mm-hmm. So just native headlines in case you need them. This is kind of cool. Not all masterminds create avoid growth inhibitors. So explode your business by 500%.
You've done a really good job with this, John. I'm impressed.
So you get the idea. Yeah. So you can just you can do this here. You can do direct response and click buttons and choose what you like.
So cool.
What's this cost?
$4.99 and $49 a month.
Say it again. $4.99 startup.
$4.99 for month one, and $49 a month after that.
And then usage limitations,
None.
tokens.
None.
Oh, really?
We don't do AI jargon. We don't do AI lingo. There is no usage. There is no limitations. There's no word counts.
What
It
about
is a flat
users?
single user for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So each user is 49.
Each user is 49. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, that's a deal.
Dude, check this out. Obsessive growth formula that balloons your business growth by 500% without wasting time and energy on the wrong mastermind group. So you can join an exclusive group network. Just decide I would write a couple of headlines and subheadlines for you.
Yeah. Well, the Trojan horse really here is that I got to turn this entire episode into a.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, I'll come back over into the real world with you guys and
Can you
kill my chair here.
Can you save that whole folder? Just send it right over to Perry.
It's funny. I didn't say any of it. I hate to tell you that, but I can't. I can say what I just did, but I was going so fast. I might have saved it just by habit.
Unfortunately, it's sold out, so they're going to be all on the waiting list, Kasim. So it's like, what are you going to do?
Problem to have.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have. John, where can people find you? Like, where's the best way? Obviously, Googling John Benson is always a good starting point, but where's the best place to connect with you?
Best place probably would be YouTube, johnbenson.com/YouTube, or just johnbenson.com. And obviously, you'll have hopefully a link to Benson below. If not, let me know. Yeah, we'll have a link for you folks. Do you have any special offers or anything for the PT listeners, or that is the special offer, man. That is the special
affection.
It's so funny. Works. We're in MVP mode, and so we did our founders, and we blew through that. We sold that out, and I sold it out before I got to the demo. So then we went to the pricing we got right now, but this pricing is going to go up as well because
that's ridiculously cheap. By the way,
yeah.
For the type of quality that you get here, and you can say, "Oh, well, I could do this with ChatGPT." Well, yeah, you could, but it would take you forever. I especially could see like agencies, copywriting agencies, funnel agencies using this.
You can't. I boldly say you can't because you'd have to know how to model and you'd have to be able to track down every bit of copy that works, and then train the LLM in the moment and get around a plethora of prompts and
just not possible.
Just don't try.
It's just not possible. Plus, you've been in doing this for such a long time. Like, this is not like you're not some guy that just appeared on the scenes. That was an important part to the introduction here. Like, you want to shorten the learning curve here. Like, this is a tool to do that. For sure.
Yeah.
So we are going to leave links in the show notes to all of this, of course.
Yep.
And we'll leave a link to the sales page for Benson itself. So happy to have you on the second time. This time the recording actually was stuck. So, hey, thank you, Riverside, for cooperating on that. So thank you for all of you for listening. Make sure that you do subscribe and leave a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. And follow myself on LinkedIn, Ralph Burns, and Kasim at Kasim Aslam. Like I said, we'll leave links in the show notes on how to connect with John as well as with Benson, the tool that we just demoed here. And of course, if you were listening to this and you missed the screen share extraordinaire on this tool here, this is really something. You've got to see it. Head on over to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. So like I said, all resources and show notes are over at perpetualtraffic.com. On behalf of my awesome co-host, Kasim Aslam.
Peace.
Until next show, see ya.